Another thing, you mentioned sweat lodges. One of our men in our church, he used to go out to El Reno prison, and he would go out there to minister. But because he was native, it was mostly native men that came. There were some blacks and, Caucasians that would come, but it was mostly native men. I went out there with him, for about a half a year. And then another man came to our church, big white guy, booming voice, cowboy, and he became one of our pastors. But he asked this man to go with him. The Indian men at El Reno just loved him, and they thought he was, just the best. And he treated them with honor and respect and loved them and all that kind of good stuff. But this man, they asked him, would you come and be part of our sweat lodge?
They asked the fellow from the church.
Cowboy looking guy. Big booming voice, 6'3", 6'4", and they asked him, could you come to our sweat lodge? That was an honor for him to be asked. He comes and asks me. I said, well, let me ask one of my friends out west. And so I asked my friend, here's the problem. One of our men that's going to El Reno has been asked to go to a sweat lodge. Is it right or is it wrong? He said, Brother Victor, I'll give you an answer in about a week. This man, he never gave you an answer like that. It was always, let me think about it, let me pray about it, and I'll give you an answer. In a week, I called him up. I says, well, do you have an answer for me? He said, Brother Victor, when has it ever been wrong for men to gather together and pray? Pretty good answer, because there's nothing wrong with men gathering together and pray, whatever the venue may be. And that I told the man in our church, he went out there, took part, but he said, I'm never doing that again. He says, those Indians like that fire too hot.
It does get hot in there.
That's right.
All right. That's a very interesting answer. And it sounds, again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds to me like you're saying that by slacking up a little bit on the kinds of restrictions that we've understood in the past between Native and Christian traditions, we might find that Christian folks have better success in telling people what they would like them to know.
That's right. And the new model that drives a lot of our evangelism, whether it be Southern Baptist, whether it be Presbyterian, whatever, that the new model is not to go to some place and destroy the culture. And that our missionaries, and they loved us, they wanted to give us the very best. Our government, that was the intention of our government, to try to be able to give Indian people a good model to follow. And fortunately, it was Christianity. Because if you're going to teach an Indian man to not kill somebody, that's good. If you teach an Indian man not to lie, that's good. If you teach an Indian man to treat his family well, if you teach an Indian man that he needs to be committed to one wife and not commit adultery, those are good things. And that our people, they bought into Christianity. It may not have been, for a lot of our Indian people, they do not like it because it destroyed cultural ways. The new model that is being practiced around the world today is that we do not go in there and destroy their culture. We work within their culture. And that if anything needs to be changed, you train those new Christians to be able to read that Bible, that handbook that we have from God, and you teach them to be able to read that. And then the aspect of the Holy Spirit will reveal to that individual Christian, whether they be African, whether they be Native American, whether they any other kind of grouping on the face of this planet, that they, through the power of the Holy Spirit, will be able to figure out what is right and what is wrong and what they can do and what they can't do.
You say that's the new model. It
Yes.
sounds like you're saying that that's the official
That's right.
way
It
of
is.
going about things now. Well, that's a marked shift.
Yeah.